Hi, this is Northstar 1989, and welcome to my Kerbal Space Program 0.24.2 Career Mode playthrough with Real Solar System 6.4x scale, Real Fuels, FAR, Deadly Reentry, and TAC Life Support. I am also running a number of other mods, including Flight Manager with Reusable Stages, which I'll get to in a bit, Atmospheric Trajectories mod, which I'll also explain later, Canopy Rocketry for the adapters and the engines mainly, procedural fairings, procedural parts, which I would use for all my fuel tanks if the costs were procedural, but they're not. So I can only really use them for the larger fuel tanks, so they're not cost effective at all. MechJet 2 and Chatter. This mission is my first Moon mission, named not very bravely, Moon mission number 1. Without further ado, let's get this baby lifted off. This mission is piloted by the one, the only, the brave, or not so brave, Bob Kerman, by the way. Jebediah met his unfortunate end some time ago with the accident I had with a suborbital mission, if any of you guys remember my talk about that. Basically, I put him on the suborbital launch for science, which was supposed to have a heat shield for the crew capsule. But I accidentally used one without, that I've been using for launchpad testing, for launchpad science stuff. And he burned up during re-entry. He's now dead. Fortunately, I saved that in. Bill Kerman met his unfortunate end when launchpad testing this rocket, actually. It fell apart before I started adding struts on the launchpad a lot. And I accidentally saved one of those disasters in, which means I lost funding. I also lost Bill Kerman's life and corresponding reputation points. That only leaves me one surviving orange suit, and that is Bob. Hopefully he'll far outlive his counterparts, though. I normally have an excellent record when it comes to crew safety. These mistakes have been things that were silly oversights on my part. It's unusual, I must say, for the scope of my normal career. But I just been so focused on building rockets that were heavy enough to get the real source systems that I haven't been focusing on these minor details to keep the crew alive. Thrust here because I have a contract to test this engine, and I'm going to overshoot the speed drastically if I don't cut the throttle there. maybe I keep it over to that. So I don't think I mentioned this before, maybe I did, but those stages create parallel saves with wet management reusable stages, which you'll be able to load up later and actually fly them to the ground, then integrate that into the main save. So despite parts disappearing when on rails below a certain altitude, I don't actually have to worry about that thanks to this rather elegant mod that solves that problem. And this is what the entries in the menu look like. You'll see different ones for each of the stages. Once this is in orbit, I'll go back and I'll load up each of those and fly them to the ground where possible. So I'm just more or less going straight up for two reasons. One is we need to go rather high orbit for this to be able to make orbit at all, thanks to the very low thrust-to-weight ratio of this part. And the second is because I don't want to go too far down range, because that will create high recovery costs on the lower stage. That being said, I do want a little horizontal velocity, or else it'll actually end up landing west of the KC. Moving a little slower to separate, normally it's faster. Could be an issue. Just try not to burn that. Exhaust. So the steering curve is all the way up at about a 700 kilometer orbit. So I can launch to a rather high orbit and still be good for phases below. Also, I wanted to point out atmospheric trajectory on. You'll see these different bits and pieces here, like this red X. That's where one of the stages, not sure which at this point, is projected to actually land, which looks like it's near the KFC. I think that's the first stage. Or maybe it's boosters. So yeah, they're going to splash down the ocean to the east, which is good, because I don't want them landing on command. I tend to lose the parachute that way. I found in testing of this design. Because when it falls over on land, there's enough of a bump that it breaks the impact tolerance of the parachute, even though it survived actual touchdown. Atmospheric trajectory mod, if you didn't figure out what I'm saying, it predicts the re-entry trajectory of spacecraft based on whatever drag model is being used. So with FAR installed, it assumes that the part will point pro or retrograde perfectly, and based on that makes drag predictions. Actually, no, it's only progrades, that's what it is. And so based on what the terminal velocities would be at different altitudes with prograde trajectory. Now you can program it to use set angles tacks at different altitudes. That's a little more advanced. With the stock drag model, it's obviously even easier because it doesn't really matter what the angle of attack is on rocket. There's no body lift in stock. There will have to be a good bit of fuel for this upper stage because it's going to have to burn basically up during its re-entry to make it more shallow. It's going to have a rather steep re-entry trajectory and burn up otherwise, and it needs to be a very shallow one and using the engine as a heat shield, which is not super effective, so it definitely is going to need quite a bit of fuel to assist its re-entry or it will be destroyed. Now, so far I've been burning prograde to get the most energy out of this burn, but that's going to change. I'm just going to burn at 20 degrees when I hit that. That's to delay apoapsis, because I'll need every second I can to circularize the weak thrust of the uppermost stage. You'll see just how weak these engines are. That's a weight ratio of 0.28 against turbine gravity. However, these engines are too weak to actually fix 20 degrees, because burning into gravity can do very little when thrust to ratio is so low. So actually, I guess holding 20 was not that useful, because I didn't have any fuel left to hold there for more than a few seconds, or milliseconds, or whatever. Once I'm high enough up that burning flow rate, and not actually probably fall back into that. Hopefully. Still have quite a bit of delta V to bridge. this hold at 2 degrees. That's because I do not want to burn down, obviously, which will happen if I keep following the prograde vector. At this point, the rate ratio is coming high enough that it's burning a little bit up. It's going to be productive. It's only a couple degrees. Plus, fixing the angle above the horizon is going to be useful to allow me to use RCS as well, without it going any lateral. So I budgeted 50 extra high speed in the command capsule here that I can use to help reach orbit. Just a little bit extra fuel. I mean, I have those fuel things for free, I might as well use them. That's all the RSS 6.4x. The remainder is going to be used to help the lander get to orbit after taking off from the moon. It's going to be that close, I expect, with its ascent. We need every bit of fuel I can, including using RCS. Some of you may be wondering why I'm planning to pick up that stray and Kerbal. Well, the answer to that is relatively simple. You'll notice there is no Prospore anywhere in this upper section. I'll need 2 Kerbals for this mission. To make docking easy, one will be in the lander, of course, directing it. I'll need the SAS force in the lander to make the landing, and of course I want a Kerbal on the surface for science. Another Kerbal will stay behind in the command module, and it'll help, we'll use the reaction wheel to help face the docking port at each other. Otherwise, I would have no control of this upper section. Of course, it means my life support supplies can be stretched rather thin. Otherwise, I have no food, just water and oxygen. You need to have the maximum length of time the Kerbal can survive. Switch up, as you see I'm about to circularize. I don't want my apparatus to shoot too high up. I realize I need to kill my vertical speed. I'm already at pretty much orbital speed at this point. And I'm safely in orbit. Much testing, many attempts that failed off camera, finally in orbit. The atmosphere ends at about 92 kilometers, so I've got a little leeway. Definitely, just nice. It's going to take me a while to reach Bob, though. Part of the reason I didn't stabilize completely is because phasing him at just 50 kilometers under would be ridiculous. I need a smallest of my major axis I can phase as quickly as possible. I basically need this to come around so that Bob is in front of my captain instead of behind right now. It's going to take a while. Hopefully I have enough life support. Also, what's my fuel situation? Let's see. Empty. Some odd easy with first used up. That is empty. Ooh, I might need to launch a tanker actually. Well, it's hypergolics and nothing will boil away. I'll wait for the additional fuel. Basically, I figured out I need about one of these to transfer the moon. Part of one of these to come back. And I'll need this all full for the moon landing. So if I transfer the fuels, also, I don't mind, these can all disappear. In fact, it's probably preferable if they disappear before I go back and load them up. Just so the save they're integrating into doesn't have copies of the same crap in existence already. Because what'll basically happen is they'll, when I've integrated them in, they'll end up integrating it onto positions on the ground for the landing. So yeah, this is probably enough fuel more or less for a return. With just this section, I'm not completely sure, but I imagine it might be. I'll probably top this up just to be sure, any extra fuel will be left as a fuel depot. You'll see what I mean by that later. But I definitely don't have enough fuel to even transfer to the moon to capture, and still have the lander be able to make the landing. I have to use lander fuel just to capture around the moon. So I'm going to have to launch a tanker. And probably the best place to meet that tanker, I would think, is Kerbin orbit. It'll save time versus launching tanker and having to meet up around the moon, I think. But before I do that, I need to take care of these reusable stages, so I'm going to cut the video here and start another one for that. See you guys in a second.